Hi everyone, my name is Amrit Raj and welcome back to our complete web on HANA course. In this part, we are going to discuss the concept of indexes in SAP. Now, let's try to understand what is an index in real life scenario, then we will implement it in our SAP database. So, suppose I have a book and the book does not have any index and I want to read a particular topic. Suppose I have a book which consists of 1,000 pages, out of which I want to read only a particular topic. However, there is no index has been created for the topics in that particular book. Then in that situation, what we will have to do? I will have to start reading the book from the beginning. But if the book have some index, then we can directly refer the topic. And you can see if I have an index, I can directly refer the topic and a lot of time will be saved because of it. Then what is the purpose of index in a real life scenario? An index is created to give the high performance. So when you have a index and you write a select query in case of any database, then by default your performance is going to increase because SAP or suppose in case of our SAP we are going to create a index, then what it will happen, you will directly when you are going to write a select query, the SAP will directly know how to fetch the database, how to fetch the records. It will directly go to the records and fetch out for you. Then by default the performance is going to increase. Then whenever a index is created in SAP, the index always stores data in the sorted order. Now it is a really important concept that we are required to understand. Whenever an index is created in SAP, the index always stores data in the sorted order. The index always stores data in the sorted order. That is, suppose you have created an index for date column, then what SAP is going to do, it will simply sort the data based on that particular date. And if there will be no index, then SAP will have to go to each data one by one and it will be very time consuming. As you can see, suppose you have got a million record and you just want to fetch a record which is lying on the 10,000 location. Now, if SAP does not have any index and it does not know where that particular item is located, then what it will have to do, it will simply go one by one until it reaches my particular item. And if it will go one by one to each item, obviously the time consuming will be increased. So indexes are really important to increase the performance of our databases. In case of SAP, an index name is 3 character long. When we will create it, we will see it. Now we have got two types of indexes. In case of our SAP, we have two types of indexes. The first one is primary index and the second one is secondary index. When you create a table, what you do? You mark a primary key. Let's just go to AC11 transaction code and open our employee table. Here see, what I have done, I have marked this employee ID as a primary key. Now, as soon as you are going to mark a primary key and you will be activating your table, SAP automatically creates a by default primary index for it. Primary key will act as a primary index. The key that you will mark as a primary key in your table, SAP will by default create a primary index for you. So whenever you will search data based on primary key, and since it is an index, therefore the performance will be high automatically. Now you got the point. Why when we write our queries based on primary key, it is said that the performance will be high. And the reason behind it, primary key will automatically act as a primary index and SAP is going to create by default for you. Then we have the secondary index which we will be creating, and based on requirement we are going to create our secondary index. There can be requirement where we will have to search record based on non-primary key. Yes, in real life scenario there can be a requirement where we will have to write select query based on the non-primary key. Then in that situation what we can do to improve the performance, we can create secondary indexes. We can create secondary indexes. So this was the also one of the advantages of index to increase the performance. Now what is the disadvantage of indexes? When you create a index, it will always occupy space on the database layer. See, it is a really heavy disadvantage, as index is going to occupy space on the database layer. Whenever you create index on a particular field, it will be stored on the database layer. I will show to you during the practical implementation. Now let's take a requirement. This is my table. I already have a primary index as on my employee ID, as I have marked as marked it as a primary key. Now what I want to create a secondary index based on this employee name column. I want to create a secondary index based on this employee name column. So you have understand my requirement. We will create a index in our employee table on column employee name. So let's implement our index. The first step is open your table in the change mode. You can see, open your table in the change mode, and then the second step is just go for this index tab. Click on the index tab. See, here we will have a index tab, and what you are going to do, you will click on this index tab. You can see no index found for table, my table name. So there is no index currently available, and we are going to create for us. And here we have a create button. So simply click on it and go for this create index. As soon as you will go for this create index, you can see a pop-up screen is coming, and here you will have to give a name for your index, and the index name is 3 character long. As I have already told you, in case of SAP, the index name is 3 character long. So what I will do, I will give a name. I want to create a index for my employee name, so I will go for this employee name and I will press enter. Now we will give a short description, index for employee name. Okay. Here we have got variety of radio buttons. The first one is index on all database systems. So currently I am taking this radio button. Later on I will explain all this thing in this video only. Then we have got this index field where we are going to select my index field. Click on this table fields and select the field which you want. Or what you can do, you can simply go for this button. You can go for this field and you will click on this F4 help. Here you can also select your index that you want. So what I want my employee ID. Currently, see, as I have selected this employee ID, see this message, index does not exist in the database system HDB. HDB is my HANA database here, and index does not exist on this database system. Now what I am required to do is, I will activate this. Once I have activated, object saved and activated, you can see index exists in database system HDB. Then a question comes in our mind, how a index is stored on the database layer. So index is stored like this way. It will be stored by a table name, then the tilde operator, and then the index name. Simple, you understand this? Table name, then tilde operator, and then the column name. So now my index has been created, and if you will use this employee name to fetch your record, the performance will be automatically high. Now let's discuss these radio buttons. So the first one is index on all database system, which I have already selected currently. So suppose in my SAP server I have got a lot of database. I mean, suppose I have got 5 databases. Then this index is going to create in all those databases if I am selecting this particular radio button. Then the second radio button is for selected database system. That is, we can select on which database my index should be created. And how we will do? You will select this radio button and you will click on this button. Then here in the DB name, you can go for this F4 help, and you can see I have got these 9 databases here. 3, 6, 9. Yes, I have got these 9 databases here, and here you can select on which database you want your index to be created. You can see here you can select the database for which you want this index to be created. Then we have this third radio button. This third radio button is for no database index. This particular radio button, since index will always occupy a space on the database layer, so if we will not specify a database to the index, then index will not exist. When you say activate the index, you will see this particular message. Let me show it to you. If you are selecting this particular radio button, no database index, and you will activate your index, see the message here will be changed automatically. Just wait for a second. Index does not exist in database system HDB. So these are the various three important radio buttons that we need to understand. Also there is an important topic. Suppose you have created an index and you do not need that particular index on the current requirement. Then what you can do, you can simply select this no database index instead of deleting this index, so that in the future if you require this particular index, then you can simply open it and you can change this to index on all database system and reactivate it so that you can use it. Currently you have selected this no database system, so your index does not exist in database system, then by default it is not occupying any space. So it is an important point, so that never delete the index, just select the radio button no database index, so that in future if you require this index, you can come again and add it to database again. So this is the concept of indexes in SAP. It is a 3 character long and it is created to give the high performance. Also we have two kind of indexes. The first one is primary index. Primary key will always act as a primary index. Whenever you are going to mark a primary key in your table, SAP will by default create a primary index for it. So by default when you will write a select query to fetch record based on your primary key, the performance will automatically be high. Then we have the secondary index, and based upon the business requirement we are going to create the secondary index. And what I did here, I have taken a requirement that I want to create a secondary index for my employee name column, and I have created it. Also in SAP we have the index 3 as a 3 character long. The index name will be a 3 character long. Then we understand these three important radio buttons. The first one will ensure that the index will be created on all the database system associated with our SAP web application server. Then the second one, if we are using for selected database system, we can select our database from here. And if you do not want your index to be stored on the database, then you can select this radio button. It will make sure that your index is not occupying any space. So let's just activate it. It has already been activated. Just go click on this back button, and here you can see index will by default present. Now let's see if I am going for this one and activate it. Now go for this back button. See, you can see this time the database name is existing. But if you will go for this one, no database index, and activate this particular index, this time you can see there is no database index number because it is not occupying any space. So this is the significance of indexes in SAP. We will continue our complete web on HANA course from the next video. For now, thank you very much.